Hi everyone, and welcome to FNH 341, our Applications of Food Theory class. So as you know, because of the measures for COVID-19, we're moved all classes online at UBC. And so today what we're going to do is do a bunch of cooking demonstrations which we'll post to our online learning environment, and then you'll be able to review them, and we have a number of points that we'll be providing for discussions that you can discuss at the online discussion board. So we're going to launch right into it. We have a number of recipes today from our legumes, nuts, and seeds class, and we're going to jump straight into them. Our first recipe is an eggplant dip, similar to baba ganoush. So, of course, we start with eggplants. What we want to do is roast these eggplants. So the first thing I'm going to do is step over to the oven and turn it on to broil. When you're broiling, you don't have to preheat the oven because you're putting the food right next to the broiler. So we want to be sure that the racks in the oven are close to the broiler. So I have my hot mitt. And I just move the rack to the highest level. So now we're ready to broil. For our eggplants, to roast them, all we're going to do is just cut off the ends. Put those in our compost. And we're just going to slice the eggplants in half. Very, very simple. So now we'll take our eggplants and put them on a broiling pan. We're going to start them face up, and then we'll turn them over and cook them face down. So all we need to do now is just slide these under the broiler. And that's not working. We're just going to move that rack back down. It's a little too close because the eggplants are big, fat, juicy ones. There we go. Okay, so while that's broiling, we're going to work on another recipe. We have some peanut lime chutney. Now, as we discussed when we make cilantro chutney, chutneys are just a bunch of things chopped up together. So what we're going to do today is prep a bunch of things to go into the food processor. So we're starting with our old friend, the sweet onion. These are big onions grown in areas where their soil sulfur is quite low. So we're just going to chop those into big chunks because they're going in the food processor. So we don't have to spend a lot of time making them very small. So we'll just take this bowl, put that in. We're going to transfer this all to the food processor. So that's our sweet onion. Next, we have peanuts. So that's 1.5 cups of peanuts. We have 3/4 cup of coconut ribbon. That's unsweetened. And we have some delicious ginger. Some nice fresh ginger. We're just going to peel that. Once again, we'll just chop that coarsely. And throw it in with our others. Transfer this to our compost. And one of the things that we're going to add some deliciousness with is some fresh lime. So we don't need to worry too much about the lime zest because we're peeling it off. So we're just quickly taking the peel off of these limes. There we go. We have 3 limes in total. Notice I cut the end off so it sits nice and flat. And then I just follow along the curve of the rind. That way I take the rind off but leave almost all of the flesh behind. Our 3rd lime. Now this is, in future lessons, we'll be looking at how to segment citrus fruit. And peeling them just like this is always the first step to segmenting them. So now we have our limes. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of peel, because of course that'll add some extra flavor from the zest. Just got those coarsely chopped. And we have a bowl of spice. And this is, I actually can't remember how much. This isn't spice. This is 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. We use coconut sugar so that our dish would be vegan. So now we're just going to go over here to the food processor. We're going to empty all of our ingredients into the food processor. There we go. We have our red skin peanuts, our sweet onion, our limes, and 3/4 of a cup of coconut sugar. So we're going to put the lid on, and now we're just going to pulse this. Want to give it a quick swirl to make sure it's well mixed. Looks like we have a pretty nice consistency. So we'll just give it a couple more pulses. And we're all done. We have our peanut lime chutney completed. So now let's just scrape this back into the bowl. This is a really nice side dish, mostly used as a condiment. One really lovely way to serve it, I've often done this in daycares where there's no peanut allergies. And that is, you take the peanut lime chutney and take some fresh spinach leaves, and take 1 fresh spinach leaf and put some peanut lime chutney on it, wrap it up into a little bundle and pop the whole thing into your mouth. And it ends up being a tasty treat that kids are quite fond of. As always, we're just going to give that a quick taste. And tastes as delicious as always. So that's our peanut lime chutney. So now let's check and see how our eggplants are doing. Those look quite lovely. They're nicely browned, and we're all set up. Here we go. So all we need to do now is turn these over. So we're going to turn them over and put them back in the oven so that they can roast the rest of the way. Okay. Now, we'll just clear our board once again. into our compost. And fortuitously, we have a whole nother other bowl for our food processor. So now we're going to take everything else for our roasted eggplant coriander dip, and we're going to get everything ready to add the eggplant to. And so we have a number of items. What we have to add to our eggplants is we have a nice mix of toasted walnuts and coriander seeds. So I took these and I toasted them at 450 degrees, and it took about 15 minutes. The thing about toasting nuts is that when you're toasting nuts, excuse me, when you're toasting nuts, you must be really attentive to how quickly they toast. The thing about toasted nuts is that they're not ready, not ready, not ready, not ready, burnt. And so when you're toasting nuts, it's really important to continuously monitor them. So yes, it only takes about 15 to 20 minutes, but you have to constantly monitor and check them and keep stirring them around. So I'm going to take my toasted walnuts and coriander seeds, add those in. So I'm also going to add not quite one bunch of scallions or green onions. So I chopped one bunch, and I saved a little bit to use as garnish. So I'm going to add that one bunch of scallions. I have half a cup, sorry, 2/3 of a cup of olive oil. So I'm going to add that in. Now, when we're using olive oil, you folks know that we have a variety of olive oils to choose from. Today I use the Portuguese olive oil. And the other thing I'm going to add is some lemon juice, just to help maintain the nice light color of the eggplant. So now let's give our eggplant another check. I'm going to go back to the oven and check on our eggplant. You can see it's pretty much ready. It's starting to smoke. The way we can tell, oh, it's still pretty firm. We like it to be soft and squishy. So these aren't quite done. So I'm going to pop them back in and let them cook until they're nice and soft and squishy.